Hello everyone. Raise your hand if you are currently going through a Unity Catalog upgrade. Nice, nice. So today we are going to talk about Unity Catalog, why we need Unity Catalog, and then we'll also look at some of the use cases and also help you understand how you can efficiently upgrade to Unity Catalog. So this is Dipankar Kushari. I'm a specialist solutions architect with Databricks, been with Databricks for more than 3 years now, and I specialize in data governance. I have with me Anirudh. Anirudh.
Hi everyone. I am the co-founder and CEO of Celebal Tech. We've been one of the partners who've done almost 100 plus migrations and upgrades to Unity Catalog last year. More than happy to discuss some of the success stories.
Thank you. So let's get started. Now, first thing I want us to understand that governance is hard, and this is a very typical situation for most of the enterprises where they have multiple data sources. They're using diverse data assets and AI assets, and also they have numerous data formats. So for examples, you are definitely dealing with data lake, as well as you still have data warehouses, and you are also dealing with multiple catalogs and databases. At the same time, you have data assets, not only just tables, views, you are also dealing with files in your data lake, and you have notebooks, dashboard, and as well as, of course, in today's world, AI models. And then nobody uses just one data format, right? Delta Lake, Iceberg, CSVs, and Parquet, these are some of the well-known formats that we are dealing with. So governing all of these data assets and data sources and all these data formats and data stores across all of these solutions, it's hard, it's fragmented. Second thing is these solutions or data platforms, they don't really work well with each other. They don't really always integrate well. There is always some kind of additional integration or some custom built solution that is needed. You can also think of some ETL pipeline that is always required to integrate all of these solutions together to make sense of your data. And also, we have to remember in today's world, it's very important to harness the power of AI and ML. And a lot of these data stores, they don't have really out of the box solutions or built-in intelligence. And what are the impact of these challenges? What are we losing out of it? So with fragmented governance, what we see is there is compliance and security issues, quality risk, and as well as operational overhead and efficiencies. I talked about little bit about how it is difficult and time consuming to build all these integrations and custom solutions between these systems. But also remember, if you have to govern your data sources or your systems, you are probably duplicating or triplicating your policies across all these systems. And not only that, a simple example could be administrator who is trying to see who has done or who has access to what data in all these disparate data systems, then he has to build another solution on top of all of these. And these systems doesn't really integrate well with each other, so there is no real open connectivity. So these are creating vendor lock-ins as well as, again, higher operational cost. And finally, lack of built-in intelligence is slowing down the speed of innovation, as well as it's a missed opportunity for competitive edge. So how does a good solution look like? What does a platform should have that can provide you or kind of get rid of all of these challenges? First thing we are talking about is unified governance. So irrespective of where your data is, because we talked about your data is in all of these different data stores, irrespective of where your data is, you should be able to access that data in a unified way from a platform, if at all there is a platform like that. Secondly, open connectivity. Irrespective of what compute engine you are using, you should be able to access your data. You should not be restricted by a specific compute engine to be able to access only a certain segment of data. And the third thing is, in today's world, you should be able to harness the power of AI ML, and you should have features available out of the box within your system which can help you to do repetitive tasks or to able to perform certain things where you don't need to spend time, rather you can build something which brings more value to your business. So we could think of auto classification of your data, because we are talking about governance. So let's focus on those areas. There are so many use cases for AI ML. I'm not going to talk about all of those, but auto tagging or maybe optimizing your data as they are getting ingested. So with keeping all of these challenges in mind, and also how a platform should look like with unified governance, open connectivity, built-in intelligence, we have built Unity Catalog, the first unified catalog for both data and AI. Unity Catalog is multimodal. That means it supports not only just data, that means tables or views, but also it supports your AI ML models. Unity Catalog supports multiple data formats, not only just Delta Lake, but Iceberg and Parquet, and CSVs and many more. And Unity Catalog also supports accessing the data. So your data, when governed by Unity Catalog, can be accessed by any engine, not only just Databricks clusters or SQL warehouses. Now, this session is about upgrading to Unity Catalog, so we also need to understand what was there before. So these workspaces were kind of this monolithic structure where primarily we have to focus on this user management, the meta store and the access control, which were part or local to the workspace. So that means each of these workspaces were shipped with a Hive meta store, and your users were managed locally within the workspace, and finally access controls were also maintained within the workspace. With introduction of Unity Catalog, what we did is we brought all of these up one level at the account, which we call at the account level. So now your meta store is at the account level, your users are managed at the account level, as well as your access control is also managed at the meta store at the account level. And then you have your workspaces. Those are, think of it more like a area where you do the compute or perform your compute, and you attach those workspaces to the meta store to access your metadata and your access control your data. And since we had this logical isolation at these workspaces, now that all of those are kind of centralized at the meta store level, at the account level, so we had to bring another level of isolation, which we called catalog. So that's the third level namespace that we introduced with Unity Catalog. So you have your meta store at the top, and there can be many catalogs created within the meta store. And then for each of these catalog, you can create multiple schemas, also known as databases. And then within the databases, you have these data assets and AI assets. So you have AI models, as well as you have tables, views, volumes, functions, and so on and so forth. We also didn't get rid of Hive Metastore yet, right? So we still have Hive Metastore as one of your catalog. You can still access them, but eventually, as you will migrate to Unity Catalog, and you are at some point you would want to decommission your Hive Metastore. So Anirudh will talk more about those things. The other thing is very important, because you might ask that, okay, I had this workspace, my developers only have access to the workspace and they can only see the metastore data or metadata that is accessible by that workspace. So how are you isolating? Now you brought everything at the centralized, at the metastore level, which is centralized and accessible from all these different workspaces, but how do you really isolate that? So we built a way or mechanism to isolate these catalogs, and not only catalogs, external locations and other Unity Catalog assets which can be isolated from different workspaces. So as an example, when a developer who is part of a development group is using development workspace for doing all the activities, building ETL pipelines and so on and so forth. They are only supposed to have access to the development catalog. They don't really have any business to have access to the prod catalog. So you can determine that, okay, these dev catalog can only be attached to this workspace which is aligned with the developers. And then if the tester needs access to the staging catalog, they can be attached to the staging workspace. And now let's say that tester also wants to have access to the prod, but only in read mode, read only mode, then you can do that too with the catalog workspace binding. So in a nutshell, what we had as a logical division between these workspaces is also achievable. That isolation is also achievable even if your catalog or your data is maintained centrally at the metastore level at the account. So Unity Catalog is really unifying the lakehouse. We talked about unified governance. So with catalog federation, you can achieve that. Even if your data is maintained across all these different systems, across all these different catalogs, let's say Hive Metastore, Glue, Horizon, Snowflake Horizon, or any IRC, Iceberg REST catalog, you can still federate those catalogs to Unity Catalog and then access via UC Open API or Unity Catalog Open API or IRC, which is Iceberg REST API, to access your data. So we started this talk about talking about a platform, ideal platform, which can give you that unified governance. So Unity Catalog is that platform where you can get that unification via Lakehouse Federation, Catalog Federation, and using the open APIs. Also, if you want to collaborate, you can use delta sharing in a secured manner to share your data with other clients that can read that share. And finally, Unity Catalog is part of the Databricks Data Intelligence Platform. So you get all the inbuilt intelligence and harness the power of AI/ML in UC. So with all of these, Unity Catalog is the most open, powerful, and interoperable catalog for both the data and AI. And finally, let's look at this picture which shows the feature set that gets unlocked when you use Unity Catalog compared to Hive Metastore. So all of these feature set needs metadata or special processing that is just not possible to be available in Hive Metastore. So when you move to Unity Catalog or when you use Unity Catalog, you get all these rich feature set. And with that, I want to hand it over to Anirudh, who will talk about how Celebal Tech has helped customer to upgrade to Unity Catalog across different verticals and unlock the full potential of the lakehouse.
Sure. Thank you so much, Dipankar. Let me ask you, let me start with a question rather. How many of you have heard the term UCX? All right. So for those who have not, UCX basically is a utility by Databricks. It's obviously open, free to use, to upgrade to Unity Catalog. And maybe then let's have a follow-up question. Now that you've seen Unity Catalog has got the federation for Oracle, for Snowflake and whatnot. So let's say you've got some tables in Oracle that you can now federate inside Unity Catalog. Then do we really need to upgrade to the Unity Catalog or push these tables to Unity Catalog, or are we good to stay with that? Anyone, if you want to answer, more than happy to take it right now. We also have a Q&A at the end. All right. See, when you federate, basically that lets you run the warehouses with all the potential of Unity Catalog. Effectively, it's a tech debt. You eventually want one policy system, you want one governance system, you should want one lineage system, and that's it, right? So with that, I'll come to the introduction of Celebal Tech. We've been a Databricks partner for last 8 years now. We've been the APJ partner of the year for last 5 years. This year, in fact, last year we were also the Unity Catalog partner of the year, as well as we were this year we've been the energy partner of the year. Work very strongly across different industries, and Unity Catalog is right at the epicenter of all the innovations that we do. So what we did was basically we used UCX, the utility I just talked about, and on top of UCX we built something called as the Unity Launcher. It's one of its kind migration accelerator, which basically enables you to migrate not just within the workspace but also inter workspace. So we'll see what that is. So from an explanation perspective, from Hive Metastore, the most common Metastore that we come across in our customer base, Apache Ranger and AWS Glue. Glue is of course the ETL tool, but it also can push on certain policies that you would want to integrate with Unity Catalog. One big challenge with Hive Metastore is, of course, it doesn't allow you all the things that Dipankar pointed out, the experience, integration with not just the data catalog, but also integration with processes, with persona-based integrations, with security, RBACs and the feature attribute. So the feature attribute basically is a concept where you could go and give security control to an attribute. The attribute could be a column, it could be a row, and so on and so forth. And then what we also did was we did integration with Collibra, Microsoft Purview and Immuta, because you may land up having multiple systems of governance, and right now what this system does is it allows a real time and a backward integration. That means a policy built in Collibra could then be in real time ingested into Unity Catalog, and a policy created in Unity Catalog could go back into Collibra, so that if you got a full-on security construct, which is basically right from ingestion to your storage, to your processes, to your ERPs, to your CRMs, and so on and so forth, Unity Catalog can then become the integral and again the epicenter of all your security constructs that you're trying to build. So, and with Apache Ranger specifically, so I don't know if anyone is from communication and media, we found Apache Ranger was one of the most commonly used tool even for downstream security constructs. So with Apache Ranger, we of course did not sunset it, but the downward integration, the backward integration, the front integration and the up integration, all four integrations were actually possible using Unity Launcher, and that too within the second week of implementation. So what we offered to all our customers was that we could migrate all your existing tech debts in security or in access controls or in policies to Unity Catalog using Unity Launcher. So as you can see, the first three are more migrations, the other three are integrations. Hence, basically it was able to provide you best of both the worlds at the same place. And what were we migrating? First, the user groups, the data assets, job and cluster upgrades, so your DB runtime upgrades, your notebook upgrades, your three-step or three-level namespace upgrades, and so on and so forth. Then ACL migrations, your policies, and in fact end-to-end testing, so basically all integrated in one solution itself. As I said, we did around 118 migrations last year. It was double the number of migration with the second in the race. So basically we could do all of that because this solution was, we built the solution to migrate the entire customer landscape, and not just let's say a part of it, but in fact the entire set of assets. And after that we actually made it open source. Now you can actually download it and start using it for your own upgrades in case you are, as I saw so many hands going up for upgrades to Unity Catalog. You can actually use it and expedite your overall journey. And the next few slides I'm going to talk about some of the challenges we face, so that in case you are facing those challenges, I'm more than happy to discuss more and in fact help you with some of the major roadblocks that we were able to fix. So the first challenge was validating jobs in the lower environments. I hope, I don't want to hope, but I am sure that some of you probably would have similar challenges. Upgradations of data, right, in Hive Metastore to UC workspace. Now basically in the lower environments to the prod. And then I would say last one, which is one of the most common one in Azure, which is ADF not triggering a UC enabled job cluster. This is something we found at virtually every single customer that we worked for. And then finally what we did was we maintained a 2-hour downtime for all assets migrated using CI/CD and the prod environment. And this 3-level namespace, so you saw that 3-level namespace, right? That was the catalog dot, the schema dot table name, right? So all those upgrades, we were able to make those changes in the notebooks as well as upgrading the notebooks for UC. So we achieved a 84% UC adoption within the first 13 weeks. Now this customer had almost 100 plus workspaces and about 100 plus terabytes of data that we had to migrate. That means make them available inside Unity Catalog, registered inside Unity Catalog. In some cases we make it managed table. In certain cases we actually converted them from managed in Hive to external in Unity Catalog. So one of the largest oil and gas companies here in the US, we did migration of the assets. The assets were primarily the SQL UDFs and the Databricks notebooks. And of course, something that Hive Metastore lacks, which is data security and privacy governance. Data lineage, again something that was not available out of the box in Hive Metastore. Migrated the entire SSRS reports on governance. So in fact, they had built the RBAC logging on SSRS. We were able to migrate the logging in Unity Catalog to the other BI tools. Now again, the same thing came up. We had those ADF triggers. We had the similar challenges of the low environments not having validated table names and so on and so forth. So of course, this is again like a large scale migration. So we started with we started with a small MVP, and then we of course upgraded them to a full blown Unity Catalog implementation. The mount points and the WASBS path, right? Big challenge that we've seen with Unity Catalog with the erstwhile governance systems. So now with Unity Catalog, we're able to do that across the system with multiple storage points. And of course, we delivered this entire thing in 6 weeks. The reason why I wanted to show you these 2 case studies, I've got one more, and I wanted to understand that migrating to Unity Catalog is not just a function of certain changes in the system that you wish to make or certain heuristics that you could follow. It has its own customization. Every customer that we worked for, we could not use Unity Launcher like as is, because customers have their ACLs lying in Metastore. Someone had it even in the Azure central governance system there. Some had it in Purview. They wanted to keep it in Purview as well as have it in Unity Catalog. So these permutation and combinations were very eclectic. I mean, this was a mix of probably everything possible. But now what is available out of the box because of UCX and what we've open sourced, the Unity Launcher, you could actually fit it to your own purpose, fit it to your own use, and run these kind of solutions pretty much the same way. Now this is one of the largest cybersecurity customers across the globe. In fact, you'll see their boards with their sponsor name outside. One of the biggest challenge they faced was the increased risk of data breaches, security, vulnerabilities, privacy and violations. Why? Because they've had their governance platform split into 25 small solutions all across their data platforms, and not just data platform, even applications. So what we offered to them was an upgrade to Unity Catalog, not just an upgrade. In fact, we were able to kind of migrate them to Databricks. But most importantly, today, their entire security construct, which includes all the applications that are SaaS based, consumer facing, as well as the data platform, is all running on Unity Catalog, one single instance with it's a multi-tenant data warehouse that they offer to the customers. I mean, similar to any Splunk or Greenplum that you must have seen. But most importantly, the entire data universe is now managed with Unity Catalog and using AI BI. So now the users can go and ask for some of the outcomes on the security data without the system having to first create a silo for them, because that security construct probably won't work, the kind of security framework they had. So now with Unity Catalog, that person has identified in the real time, and they use AI BI Genie to actually run their workload or run their reports in the real time. So this was one of the, I would say, one of the most compelling outcomes we were able to drive, and this too in 10 weeks. They took about 12 months before they came to us and we delivered this using Unity Launcher. So almost 100 plus delivered engagements, 80 plus customers, 118 to be precise. 98% on-time deliveries. When I say on-time, basically means before time. And the way we start is, I'll probably talk about that from a holistic purpose. Way we start is we actually have an analyzer that can go deep in your governance platform, figure out the policies, ACLs, personas, RBACs, even if you put in processes. For example, someone uses SAP. Now in SAP, the biggest difference is that the security is at the object level. So I may be able to access my supply chain data, but not my production, even though supply chain is very close related to production. So when I use the same, let's say, construct in my AI BI Genie or an agent or a Lakeflow or a Lakehouse, Delta table, the same construct is automatically transferred. So that means if I was able to only see my supply chain data, I see exactly that integrated with SAP, integrated with Oracle, integrated with Salesforce, ServiceNow, and of course about a couple of dozen more popular solutions. And of course deployed across 7 industries. So we've already got the template for different industries with respect to the processes. So let's say you got, if I talk about discrete manufacturing, so from production plant manager to supply chain manager to procurement manager, right, to drop schedule manager, and so on and so forth. So all those personas were pre-shipped in UC. Last but not the least, our approach for Unity Catalog migration. We start with an analyzer. It's a free deployable utility that we can push and get the entire inventory. So basically I could make the overall analysis of your workspace within the first day of this deployment, which takes about 2 minutes. Then the entire pre-migration assessment, basically how do we migrate, what do we migrate, and we have a pre-built template as per the industry as I talked about. And then from there to project planning, asset migration, and finally post-migration. All of this we've delivered using a well-defined template, exactly the same way for each of our customers, and we're able to do this in, as I said, in few weeks. So what is the real UC challenge? One big UC challenge that we've seen is the inter-workspace upgrades. So I'm not just upgrading the existing workspace, but actually upgrading it to the next one. So to the new one. So from no isolation of production assets to a use-enabled workspace and external applications. External application, the word is application and not just the data asset. So migrating that which was not supported in UC to now start supporting UC. Mount point incompatibility, I just talked about that. And streaming conflicts. One major issue we found that we found in DLT, we're able to resolve that using Unity Catalog. I think all of this is one, but the most important point, the most important outcome for us has been the way we've been able to then take it to the next level in our AI security. So our AI persona, the AI governance methodology that we are now putting up, of course there is hallucination, there is prompt injections and so on and so forth, but our ability to use the right persona while prompting is something that has really helped, and that's kind of built on the Unity Catalog end-to-end descriptive cataloging, right, that we've done for each column from a source. So if I go to as I said, go to a manufacturing customer, I know what personas are allocated to what kind of data sets. So now if I have a prompt that is outside the realm of that persona, I'm able to stop that using Unity Catalog. And I think that's been a big change for all of our customers. Well, with that, we can get into any Q&A. So if you have any questions, more than happy to answer.